For more on the rest of the day's news on Capitol Hill, let me bring in Nicholas Wu. He is a congressional reporter for Politico. Nicholas, great to see you. The Associated Press reports President Biden plans to hold off on declaring a so-called climate emergency. Tell my audience what that is, why the delay, and what it would do if it were ever to happen.
So, given the dramatic effects of climate change that we're seeing around the world, there have been calls by some Democrats to declare a national emergency around climate to try to mobilize the resources of the federal government to combat the effects of climate change, especially as what appears to be the more ambitious attempts to pass climate legislation through Congress have stalled out. But at least for now, the White House doesn't seem to have much interest in declaring a climate emergency. But it's worth remembering this is all comes at a time where the Democratic legislative agenda is shrinking and shrinking. And so as a result, you're seeing these calls from more and more Democrats for the White House to go it alone and act on these sorts of issues, whether it's debt or climate or even immigration.
Nicholas, you walk the halls of Congress more frequently than I do, but even I know that West Virginia Democratic Senator Joe Manchin, not the Democrats' famous or favorite member of the Democratic Senatorial Caucus, less so even this week than the week before. What's his status within the party? How much of these recriminations affect him, if at all? And is there any room to continue negotiating?
When it comes to Senator Manchin, Democrats just don't have that much of a choice other than to work with him. Remember, it's still a 50-50 Senate. And so, anything requires getting Manchin aboard. And so this is the risk for Democrats, right? If you push him too far, there is a fear that, you could lose him on any given issue, whether it is climate or what appears to be these plans to bring together some kind of social spending bill or a health care bill. The worst case scenario for Democrats would be if all of this comes to a head and if you were to leave the party. Now, it's said that he's a Democrat and he won't do that, but the fear is there.
For sure. So, as most people know, in a midterm election cycle, the legislative calendar is even shorter than it normally is. August recess is looming. What has a chance of getting done?
That's all kind of up in the air right now. There's a lot of different bills moving around Capitol Hill right now. Literally, as we're speaking, the House just voted to codify same-sex marriage into law. And that's something that, picked up a fair amount of Republican support here in the House. And, it might have a chance in the 50-50 Senate. So we'll have to wait and see. But there's still plenty else moving around in these last few weeks as both chambers sprint towards the recess. You have plans coalescing around a health care bill in the Senate. What's left of Democrats' bigger social spending bill, basically. There's government funding bills that still have to go through, and there's a whole lot going on. And there's only a couple of weeks left to do this, and they're going to try to jam everything through on the calendar.
Nicholas, on another topic, former President Jimmy Carter, Secretary of State James Baker have an op-ed out in the Wall Street Journal calling for reforming the Electoral Act to avoid another January 6th controversy. Remind us of why that's being scrutinized in the aftermath of January 6th.
So after January 6th, there was a big push legislatively to try to clarify the role of the vice president and to prevent these kinds of challenges to the electors that we saw on January 6th. Part of the case the January 6th committee has made is that basically many of the people that were at the Capitol and the former president himself did believe that there was a way for the vice president to overturn the election results that day by basically having these slates of electors submitted by the states rejected and introducing alternate ones that would have voted for Trump as president. And so what's happening in Congress now is there's a couple different parallel track routes to try to reform the Electoral Count Act. There's this bipartisan group over in the Senate that's expected to introduce its own legislation very soon to reform the Electoral Count Act. And on the House side, this is a key issue for the January 6th committee, which is expected to offer fixes to this in its final report sometime this fall, as they do, as they'll stitch together legislative recommendations that may or may not eventually see the light of day.
Excellent. Nicholas Wu, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.